In yesterday's classes, we have started SQL. We have the demonstration of on top of DDL and DML languages. Okay, DDL means data definition language where we can create tables. We can do, alteration on top of tables by alter command. We have drop statement, we have truncate statement, and we also learned the DML, how we can insert data or we can manipulate data inside table. That is been controlled by DML languages. So we learned insert, update, delete, this three command. So any one of you is having any doubt regarding that till now so far? You have tried the same thing, correct? With your softwares installed in your local. Is there any stuck point, any issue? No one is having any doubt? Okay, if there is any, please tell me. Okay. Today I'll be just focusing on top of few aspects on top of DDL and DML, especially on top of constraint. Constraint we didn't learn in yesterday's session. So while creation of a particular table, we did not put any constraint on top of the table. So today we'll be checking what is constraint and why should we need to put it. Okay. So just like when creating a particular table's DDL, that means data definition language, we need to use each of the columns data type, their column length, and we can also put constraint. Okay, those are the constraint. Those can be the constraint on top of a table. There can be not null constraint, not null. Okay, one more thing. When we are defining any particular table's DDL, so for employee, let me just pick up employee tables one more time over here. So when we create the employee table, how we have create table name, employee, then each of the individual column, employee ID, it was integer, then employee first name, was varchar 50, employee last name, varchar 50, and another column was there employee experience. It was also integer in nature. Fine. So yesterday we executed this thing, this particular command, and our new table was generated. That is called employee table, having those four columns: employee ID, employee first name, employee last name, employee experience, with those column data type. Okay. So when we are declaring this kind of structure, by default, each of the column should be having a constraint as null. By default, it should be null. We can put null, we cannot put null, but by default, it will be taking null. Why it's called null? Means when we are inserting the record in the employee table, I can insert any nullable value for any particular column. How that is possible? Let me show you. I'm going ahead with the insert command. Insert into employee. Okay, yesterday we directly just go ahead, insert into employee, then values. Okay, but if any of the column I want to omit the data or I want to skip the data, I can mention in this manner. Employee ID, employee first name. I want to skip last name for because I do not have the last name of a particular employee. So I'm inserting in this way. I skip last name over here. I'm directly putting employee experience. Yesterday we did not use this kind of field. We directly go ahead with insert into employee then values. and we put all the four fields there. Now I'm skipping one of the particular field by this way. In this manner, whatever order I'm putting insert command, the same order I can put it. I can put experience over here, not here. I can declare it over here, but the same way, same order I need to insert the values. Okay. So that is why we can mention before inserting the table, we can mention the order of the columns over here, and the same order we need to push the values. Okay, it can be all the columns, it cannot be all the columns, that is as per our wish, and we need to insert the values as well. So why we are learning this? Because we want to check the constraint part with this insert command. Suppose I'm inserting the record, employee first name, suppose Kamla, experience is 10. Okay, I'm inserting this record has been inserted. Let me select star from table. It's a DQL language. We'll be learning select query later as well. Just to check the table, I'm selecting this that I mentioned in last session as well. Okay. So I'm selecting select star from employee. You can see employee ID is 101, Kamla. Employee last name is null because I did not put any record because I do not have the data. What is Kamla's surname? I do not have that one. That is why I put it in this manner. Okay. Even there is, that is why I want to say that we have by default null constraint for each of the columns available. So I can skip any value. Okay. Even I can skip employee ID as well. I'm just putting employee's first name and last name. Suppose uh, Govind, 12 years of experience. It's executed, but you can see the second record, we do not have any employee ID. We do not had any employee last name. So those are null. So as by default, I did not updated any of the constraint, by default, it should be null. I can put null, I cannot put null, but the columns are nullable in nature. Okay. So that is why the concept will come for not null. I can specify a particular column as not null, especially for this primary key. Employee ID should be the primary key for that table. So for that table, I can specify that particular table must be having one employee ID data. So that is why this is called a constraint. Whenever, as per my requirement, a particular table's column should be not nullable. It should be always having data. Then I can impose this kind of constraint when it is not null. So while declaring the table, create table employee ID, integer not null. So when inserting the record, I must be having a data for employee ID at least. Even let me put not null over here as well. Okay. So I'm putting two constraint, employee ID not null, employee first name not null. And those two are fine. I cannot put data over here as well. Okay. Let me recreate the table with this constraint. Employee ID and employee first name as not null. Let me drop the table. I can also do the alter statement over here. Alter table name, modify employee ID int not null. That should be the scenario. But I'm just dropping and recreating again. Yes, it has been created. Okay. Now I'm just trying to insert. Now there is no record. Let me just select it once more time. Yes, there is no record. I'm going to insert this record. Over here, the same record, we skip employee ID and employee first last name over there. I'm trying to inserting the same record. Let's see what happens. It is throwing an error. What is the error? Field employee ID doesn't have a default value. So this is the error. As I am imposing a not null constraint on top of employee ID column, I must be having one particular data for employee ID. For a single record, there must be the data for employee ID. It cannot be null. Even first name as well. The first name is having data. That is why the error is only on top of employee ID. Employee ID field doesn't have a default value. So I'm putting employee ID, putting the thing over here. Let's execute once more time. Yes, it's successfully executed. You can also check the data by select query. Yes, we have the data. So that is a constraint imposed on this employee ID column. That is why this kind of error we got it. So this kind of constraint we have to impose in our project so that any bad record means having null value for the mandatory fields or mandatory column cannot be escaped. Okay, it will be immediately throwing the error that this is a mandatory field. Please put this thing. Okay. Okay. Uh, we just learned not null. Then the next point is unique. Unique can be a constraint. Okay. If we just mention unique, let me, okay, let me, I can put multiple constraint as well, no issue. But let me just drop the table. We just learned not null. Let me quickly check with unique as well. As per the naming convention, the thing is you are able to understand the unique constraint means employee ID cannot be duplicated in nature. Okay, I just executed. So employee ID is having the constraint now as unique. Means a same employee ID cannot be repeated. Let's have one quick example. I'm trying to insert the same record again. Let me refresh this pane to check this thing. Okay. I'm trying to insert the same employee ID again with different name. Suppose Naveen or Naveen. He is having 9 years of experience. I'm just putting employee ID as 102 again. I'm trying to insert it. Showing an error. Duplicate entry 102 for the key employee ID. So that is the reason I have imposed that constraint on top of that particular column. So that is why I should not introduce this kind of unique key. This kind of unique key is determined over here. That is why I cannot insert the same thing in another row. Okay. So this is the issue. Till now, so for any doubt, the things are understandable. Please tell me. I'm not sure whether you are getting it. Yes or no. Anything.
No doubts for me.
Okay, no doubts. Fine. If there is any stuck point, please tell me from anyone. Okay. Now, the most important thing is primary key. Primary key is one of the constraint. And primary key, what is the primary key? We learned it. So first of all, for the primary key concept, if I want to declare a particular column as a primary key, that column must be satisfy these two constraints. So primary key cannot be null So mask primary key must be not null and primary key should be always unique. So to define a primary key, the particular column must be not null as well as unique. So you can just declare primary key over here. How to declare primary key constraint? It's a bit different to declare the primary key constraint. I'm dropping the table again to show you. I'm removing the unique. So primary key constraint can be defined in this manner. Just put comma into the last executable column name and I will be declaring primary key here. At the end of all of the column declaration, I have to declare in this manner. Primary space key, it's a keyword. Then within this brace, you can declare the particular column name. Okay. So while declaring the primary key, just remember we need to put the comma, the last column declaration and declare primary key employee ID. This is how we can declare primary key. It's executed successfully. Okay. So primary key, employee ID is a primary key now. I can insert the data, I can check it. So if I have imposed primary key over here, so employee ID cannot be unique as well as employee ID should be always unique as well as it should be having not null constraint by default. So those two constraints will be by default imposed on top of the primary key column. Okay. So this record we have entered. Any doubt so far? I think no. Okay. Another way for declaration of the primary key. How to do that? I can impose a constraint called primary key. I can impose a constraint name. I can put constraint keyword. The same way I have to declare it at the last line. Constraint uh constraint name. Suppose constraint name is con. Any name I can put. This is my name. I use a defined name. Constraint abc. Okay. So imposing a constraint. Constraint's name is abc. What that constraint contains? It contains a primary key with having this employee ID. So this is how we can also declare the primary key. I can declare a constraint. It's a constraint keyword. The name of this constraint, it can be user defined name. And what the constraint declare, it's a primary key on top of employee ID. Okay. Okay, one more thing I skipped. When declaring a primary key, I can put multiple values as well. The second class, we have talked about composite key. If you can remember this thing, multiple keys can be primary key. The similar kind of things we can declare this way. Suppose employee ID and employee first name. The combination should be primary key. Okay, that can be done. Okay, it's done. So this way you can see one more thing. While when I'm declaring a primary key constraint on top of any particular table, when we are checking the definition, you can see the particular columns are bold in nature over here and they're mentioning PK besides each of the column. Okay. One more thing I just want to show you. We can check the DDL of this particular table. Suppose I want to check the DDL. The table is already created. What I have created in the last working day, I want to check. To check the constraint or to check the other properties on top of all of the columns, I can check it from here. How to check? Right click on the table. Uh, Send to SQL editor, create statement. Okay, so this thing has been generated. Okay. So you can see they are mentioning not null constraint by default as its primary key. That is why it's not null. The other two I haven't pushed any constraint. That is why they are putting its default null. So while storing the DDL, they are storing the thing in this manner. The entire thing. This is the format. The engine is InnoDB default character set is UTF data type. I mean UTF character, UTF format actually. And this is the collate. We are not declaring this thing, but when we are saving any table or we are doing the create statement, by default this line should be generated at the backend. Okay. Okay. I'm deleting this thing. What is the other thing we can learn quickly? Okay, foreign key. Foreign key, I haven't mentioned it. We can declare foreign key as well. Foreign key constraint. So how to declare a foreign key? So for foreign key, we must have another table, a foreign table, obviously. So I'm declaring another foreign table. Suppose employee details, DET, which is having employee ID information, or I'm telling employee code, CD. Or what I can put, employees city, where care 10 or 30. Okay, let's put these two columns. I want to impose employee code. I'm creating a new table. Okay. And employee code. Let me put employee ID itself. I am taking the same naming convention of this employee ID. So this employee ID is the foreign key from this employee ID. Okay. So this employee ID is totally dependent on this employee ID. I want to impose the foreign key rule on top of this employee ID. What is foreign key? We have told the same thing in last working day. Okay, I'm imposing a primary key for this table as well. What is employee code? It's integer. And I'm imposing the foreign key constraint on top of this employee ID. Foreign key concept means I'm taking reference of the employee ID value from this table, employee table. Okay. So while declaring a foreign key, I need to do the same way. How we have declared the primary key. Oh, foreign is spelling. Okay. The spelling was wrong. Foreign key references. Table name. This is how we have to declare the foreign key. Foreign key references these two columns. I mean, this is the keyword. Then the particular table from where we are referencing it. Employee table. Which column? Employee ID column. The wrong thing is there. I have done some mistake reference maybe. That is happening. Okay. And this is the comma. Just give me some second. I'm missing something. Okay. I need to foreign key on my column first, my table first. So in my table, current table, I am imposing foreign key on top of this employee ID. Correct. So this is my foreign key, which is referring employee table's foreign key, employee table's primary key. Okay. To create table, table name, all the things are fine. Okay, I can declare employee code as primary key. That is fine. We cannot. We can quickly create it. Our primary key is employee code. That is fine. And foreign key is employee ID, which is a primary key from employee tables, employee ID. The concept is clear for everyone. It's a bit tricky. So the same way we have declared primary key, that is fine. I have to declare the same way foreign key, and just I have to referencing that particular foreign key from a particular table's primary key. That is why references employee ID. Let's run it. Yes, it's completed. So it's running now. Now one more important thing. So now employee details, that particular thing is imposing the foreign key constraint on top of this table's employee ID. Now if I'm going to delete this table, employee table, I'll not be able to delete it because in the same database, we have employee detail table, which is dependent on employee table. So employee is a independent. Let's delete that. Let's drop that particular table. I'm getting the issue because I cannot drop the table. On top of this table, we have the dependency on other table. Okay. So on top of employee table, I have the dependency on employee underscore detail table. That is why I cannot able to drop it. Okay. Let's drop the employee detail table first. Then we can able to drop this table. I'm able to drop the detail table. Now I can able to drop it. Okay. It's fine. So this is how the foreign key concepts are working. Any doubt so far? Or declare some constraint? I hope we have covered the constraint. I'll not be I'm going to constraint part anymore. Any doubt from anyone? Okay, primary key, foreign key. I think that is clear. But please clear the concept. Maybe when we will be doing the hands-on part or exercise part, then I hope there will be no issue. If there is any uh, issue over here now, you can clear it now. But from the exercise time, I hope then we will not be facing any issue. Okay. Okay. One more thing I just want to show you. Constraint part is done. I have also collaborated the thing with the DML. So each of the constraint is having this kind of DML. Okay. One more thing. I haven't introduced the date data type. So yesterday I told about date data type, but I haven't put the date data type of any of the column. Let's delete this detail table. I do not require it. Primary key, it's fine. I can put primary key over here. No issue. I'm declaring, suppose DOB, employee underscore DOB as date. Okay. Now, this is a date data type. I can create it. No doubt. Yeah, the table has been successfully created. How it's looking like. You can see this is the way. And this is the date data type. You can see over here. Okay. Now the thing is how the value of data type should be. So when I'll be trying to insert the value, suppose I'm inserting all the records first, I'm deleting this thing, I'm inserting all the things, not particular numbers, I'm inserting all the numbers. Okay, insert into employee, employee ID, first name, let me put last name, employee experience, let's put a date, which is the date of birth of that particular employee. Suppose let me put uh 02. Okay, date should be always enclosed by quote, single quote, just like varchar. Okay, so I'm putting uh Jan 2nd 1996. I'm putting in this manner. Okay, trying to insert it, I'm getting an error. So what is the error? Incorrect date value, this one. So I have declared that particular employee DOB. Okay, EMP should be there. Okay, I have declared, so no issue. So as I have declared the last column as date data type, I need to align with proper date, how the date can be represented in MySQL. I need to know that default date format. Okay, and I need to insert the date only by this format only. Okay, so for MySQL, the default date format is YYYY So each of the database, we are learning now MySQL. So if you are learning any other database that is having their own date format, this is very important thing. Let me show you. Okay, MySQL default date data type, date format. Okay, this is the way YYYYMMDD. Let's check in Oracle. In Oracle default date format, it's DD month YY. Okay, if we check MS SQL Server, it is same as MySQL. Okay, so each of the individual database there is having their own date format. So we need to abide by the same. If we are trying to put any other way, not maintaining this format, if we are trying to put any other way, other format, then it should be treating this thing as a varchar string. So this string is treating as a varchar one because we are putting single quote wrapped over here. So that is why it is throwing error, as we have declared is a date data type, but we are declaring, we are pushing a varchar thing. So that is why let me update the thing with this format, that is 1996 01 means Jan 02. Let me run this. Yes, it successfully entered. One row is affected. Yeah, this is the particular record with the date of birth. Why we are doing date data type? We'll be checking later that there is lots of inbuilt functions available on top of date data type. If we have date data type, we can extract year, we can do lots of calculation on top of this date. If this is varchar, then we cannot do those kind of calculations. Okay. Okay, so we are almost done with the new things that we uncovered. I mean, that was left in last session. Okay, some more things I want to tell you. Okay, I'll not be starting DQL from today. DQL should be started from tomorrow. DQL should be, I mean, it should take 2 or 3 more days. Then we'll be covering DCL and TCL and we can close this topic. We'll be covering some more, I mean, exercises and all over here after covering this thing. Okay, let me do one thing. In this particular table, we can get lots of metadata related information. Metadata means the data on top of this table. What are the data? Let me check. You can click on table inspector. Okay, we can get lots of things. We are creating the table over here, but the table is been stored as a file format where we have installed MySQL. Okay, so you can see the table is stored in this file extension employee.ibd because the default engine is InnoDB that I showed you. InnoDB for MySQL. So when creating a MySQL table in the backend, it is been stored in a file format in this manner. Actually, we should not have to take care because the DBA should be taking care of this thing. So in your project, you should be working as a database engineer. That is fine, but uh, the particular database should be supported by some other team that is called the DBA, database administrator. They should be maintaining the server related stuffs. Okay, so um, what kind of tables you are creating, you are doing anything, so everything should be, I mean, stored into where we have saved it. I mean, where did you install it? You can check that particular table is been residing there by this file format. Okay, lots of things for the columns related stuffs, how we have declared the columns, whether it's nullable, the default value, the data type, is there any particular character set. Okay, so everything is there. Index, what is the index? I mean, I have declared the primary key on top of this employee ID and first name. So by default, it's indexing. Okay, what is index? I'll be telling index once more time. Index will be helping us to retrieve the data very quickly. Suppose we have millions of records in a particular table. I haven't declared any index. Suppose in a book we have thousands of pages. For a particular topic to be searched, it's very hard. Which particular page I'll be reading? It's very hard if we do not have the index. So that is why we have to define this kind of index. By default, if we declare primary key, it should be the index. I have declared primary key on top of employee ID and employee first name. And in the table, this is called the index, which will be helping us the particular rows identifier. So that is why to keep index, it will be helping us out to retrieve any kind of data from the table very quickly. That is why index is a required field. Okay. There is no partition foreign key I have deleted. If I just impose it, the foreign key should be there. Okay, grants. What is grants and all those things will be coming later inside the DCL and DQL. Okay, what is the DDL? I just showed you. This is the DDL of that table. Okay, we are not declaring this not null because by default it should be there. Okay, default null, not null, this kind of things. We did not declare, but I have declared primary key. That is why it's come as not null, not null. I haven't declared anything for employee last name. That is why by default it's coming as default null. Okay, those are the thing to check the metadata information on top of this table. Okay, so for any doubt, we'll be closing DDL and DML. We have just gone through some advanced topics covered by today with constraint and data type. If there is no doubt, I'll be closing the session for today, and tomorrow we'll be starting with DQL chapters. Any doubts so far? Nothing? Okay. Let's start the topic from tomorrow. It's DQL. Okay. So,
Uh,
thanks. Yeah.
Southik, so I have no doubts, but I just want to ask you, do you provide any assignments for us?
Yeah.
Or
Some exercise I'll be going to give you. Maybe after
okay.
covering DQL at least,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be giving some assignments. Assignment means some exercises to do. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can follow the same exercise.
Yeah, so because instead of repeating the same thing that we have learned in the class, if you could provide some assignments that covering all those topics, it will be helpful.
Yeah. I'll be taking 2 more days for
Mm-hmm.
DQL, and after that, I'll be giving you the assignments, and
Okay,
you can practice the same thing.
sure.
Okay. And I'll be trying to solve the same in the very next day. Maybe you'll be getting 2 days time, maybe in weekend. You can try it. So Monday evening, we can check it. So this was the plan. So
Okay.
let's cover up the DQL. You can understand or collaborate the things between DDL and DML. So basically DDL and DML, those are, you are setting up the environment. You are creating the required tables. You are inserting the data. In the DQL, the main fundamental things, the visualization of the data as per your own way, you'll be learning these things. So that the things should be understandable while doing the assignments. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then. Yeah. Any other concerns from any other? Okay. I hope no, as everyone is in mute. So let's wrap up the session for today. We'll be connecting again with a new topic from tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Thanks everyone.